Well, hey guys, welcome back to our channel, or my channel, I guess. You know, I'm out here working by myself again, but today's going to be a short video on repairing this little thing here. So certainly not a Can-Am Renegade. I've got these things sitting over here. Hey, listen, today, so I got this little ripper here and here, and this is Bentley Laudermilk. He's one of our little local youth riders that races in Florida Trail Riders, and well-known fact, their whole family races. His dad, his mom, his brother, and Bentley. So it's a whole race deal for them. And but anyway, Bentley was leading the race this past Saturday at the local Florida Trail Riders race, and his chain come off. So my hunch is he's got a bearing or something going on in the transmission here. So we're gonna be taking this thing apart so we can figure out what we have to get as far as parts related items, so we can get Mr. Bentley back up and running. But you can see here he was leading the race here, and this whole sprocket shaft moves up and down. Okay, so whenever it does that, it spits the chain right off there. So but anyway, we're going to try to get him all going here. I got to pull this CVT cover off here, drain the oil out of the transmission, and I want to get in there and take a look at that and figure out what we have going on. And but anyway, got to do all this before I can get some parts ordered, so we make sure that we get everything we need here. So that's what this video is going to be about today. So I got the, I took the drain plug out of the transmission out of down here, and absolutely no oil come out of it. So obviously this gearbox is out of oil, which my suspect is it went out the other side. This side's pretty dry. The other side, I bet that bearing is out on the other side, and I think that's where all the oil went. That they had cleaned this quad up before they brought it to me, so I don't know what it looked like back there. Maybe it had oil everywhere, but anyway, all this over here looks nice and dry, which is really good. Now this little pencil gear here, now this is normal for it to move up and down a little bit there like that. This little stem here goes into the outside cover, and that's what holds it in place. Although I'm leaning toward just replacing everything in that gearbox there. The other thing I was wanting to show you here is I took the clutch off here, and there is a little bit of fraying on the belt here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I don't know how. I'll ask the customer, his dad, Brandon, I'll ask him how old the belt is, but I recommend probably replacing this. I'm not sure how much he rides it at home, that kind of stuff, but these are Kevlar belts just like they are on the Renegades, and but I would say let's replace this just because some of the fraying that I see there. So but anyway, all right, I'm gonna go and pull this cover off here, and let's see what we have here. All right, so I got this cover off over here, and there is a little bit of puddle of oil in here. Okay, so Bentley must not have ran this thing very long. These gears may be salvageable. I don't know yet. I haven't pulled it out. I just want to show you this. So there's no metal in there, okay, which is really good news. This is the sprocket that I pulled off the other side, and then obviously you can see some telltale signs. So you can see the oil around this right here. This fits against that bearing over there, so you can definitely tell that this is where the oil was coming from. This is a little pencil gear here that I removed here, but the other good thing is I don't see a lot of metal in here, so we might be okay. Not positive yet, but you can come over here and I'll show you. But this bearing over here, this one's definitely out. I can lift up the shaft up and down quite a bit there, so I'm getting ready to pull all this stuff out, and but that bearing there has failed. So I'm interested to see what these look like here. So hang on, I got the gears out of this thing here. So a couple telltale signs here. So first of all, it's the skinny bearing here. So what we usually do is on these high-powered DRRs, when I say high-powered, you know, this is a 50, but it still makes quite a bit of power, okay? What I usually do is we remove, this is a stock bearing here. The one that I install is a really wide one, okay? And it carries the load a little bit better. But you can also see right here where that gear was riding at, okay? It's real shiny. I'm not sure if y'all can see that or not, but it's extremely shiny. So what's happened is the other bearing on the other side has failed. Obviously this one's not in great shape either, so And then what's happened is the gear is just rubbing on there. So I'll show you over here. I'll show you the bearing. So definitely had a bearing failure over here. So obviously you can see this one here, that this bearing is pretty much gone. So I did pull the gears out and they appear to be fine here. Okay, so you can see where this is where that bearing that failed, this is where it was riding at. You can see that's gotten really hot right there. Okay, see the discoloration there? But you can also see where that bearing, that skinny bearing that I was telling you about, that's where it rides at. The bearing that the aftermarket bearing that we install is really wide. It goes from here all the way to there just about. So it carries the load and the torque of this gear. But whenever I look at these things, they look okay. Okay, I don't see any metal, which is really good. Typically you would see metal stacked up in these corners, but I don't see any metal. I don't see any chipped teeth. So I don't know, I'll leave it up to him. I'll recommend to his father, Brandon, whether he wants me to replace these or not, but I would say they're probably okay. But anyway, it was up to him. So I know for sure that we need to replace that. Obviously those two bearings there for sure. Okay, so I know that they need to be replaced. This one here is probably fine. It feels really nice and good here. And then there's another one on the pencil gear that goes in there. That felt fine too. So I think our issue is all in this area right here. So I need to replace and repair all that. So and then obviously clean all this and put new oil in it. And there's a new seal that goes on the other side, that kind of stuff. So I'll leave that up to him. I'm probably going to go ahead and get all this cleaned out, get those bearings knocked out of there, and then I'll get in touch with him and see what he wants me to do. I currently don't have those bearings and such here. I will have to order them, but I'll get them coming and we'll try to get this thing repaired. Well, I got the bearing out. This is what's left of the bearing. Look at this. The whole cage fell apart. Okay, I had to get the race out of there, which is okay, but yeah, this is the bearing that's the parts and pieces. You'll see what I got going on over here. So now I've got to remove, there's a seal in there, a snap ring. Once I remove that seal and snap ring, I'll be able to tap out that bearing out that direction. This bearing come out this way. But anyway, that's the seal there. That's obviously got to get replaced too. But I want to tap that seal out, take the snap ring out of there, and then knock this other bearing out. All right, so I got the bearings out of the little DRR here. So this is the remaining seals here. So this was a seal here, you know, toward the sprocket side. This goes against that seal there, obviously, to keep the fluid in. This is a little snap ring that I was telling you about. We will not be using that snap ring now because we are going to be putting, there's a bearing that's about twice as wide as this one to help carry this load. So you can see this is a you know, a different kind of bearing here. So anyway, so the bearing that we're going to be putting in is about twice as wide as that. We will not be using that. And so I got to get a seal. I got to get that wide bearing, this bearing obviously for the outside sprocket there. But all this looks to be okay. Still gotta, I'm gonna clean all this stuff up. Gotta also get a gasket, cover gasket for this here. And but you can see where that little snap ring right there goes. Well, we're not going to be utilizing that. That bearing's going to go quite a ways across there, so that'll help support that the sprocket over here. So what happens is the chain's on the passenger side here where the sprocket's at, and it gets a lot of load on there. When the little youth rider steps on the gas, it tries to pull the motor sideways, and it's a lot of stress on that those little bearings. So typically I see this quite a bit, bearing failure, especially whenever the wide bearing is not on the other side to help support that. So we're going to table this project until I get a hold of the customer, Mr. Brandon, his dad, Laudermilk, and this is Bentley. Good little ripper here. This kid, I think he's won the first 2 races. I think was going to win this past race and ended up having this failure. So good little racer here, and so I'm going to table this project until I get a hold of them to figure out what he wants me to do, whether he wants to replace all these items or just some of them, and then obviously got to get the parts in. So this will be a to be continued video and probably 3 or 4 or 5 days probably before I can get the parts in. So we'll see. The parts come from Pennsylvania. So all right. So next time I see you, I'll be cleaned up, putting this thing back together. All right, guys. So we're sitting here with the DRR. This is a DRR project here, and I finally got all my parts in to repair this thing. So this is let's see. This is Sunday. So it took me 4 or 5 days to get the parts. Chris Kroll at Precision Racing is the one that we buy most of our little mini quad stuff from, and really good fast shipper, and knows exactly what you're talking about. So give that guy a call if you guys need anything CVT, DRR, that kind of related kind of stuff, because I guarantee he's got it in stock, and then also he can send you what you need. So this is what I ended up receiving. So this is the new wide bearing that I was telling you about in the transmission that I want to do. This is the bearing here that failed, and is what's caused this whole thing here. He also sent me a new seal and a new gasket for the cover. We're also replacing that slipper sprocket with a fixed sprocket. These are discs here that's going to go in the slipper clutch that the customer is going to be putting on. I don't have it here with me, but these darn slipper sprockets here are really bad about burning themselves up. So if I had my druthers, I would rather do a fixed sprocket and a slipper clutch. So these things right here, you got to torque this bolt, I think, to 105. This little nut right here that holds that on there, there's a compression washer here. But those things are notorious. A couple of our youth riders, it's cost us races because of those. So this is all the old stuff here. This is the bearing. So you can see the difference in the width. It's almost double. Okay, and I'll show you whenever I go to putting it in there. We are going to reuse the old gears. You know, I didn't really see nothing wrong with these. It turns out it was the bearing failure there that really caused our issue. So at this point, we chose not to purchase some new gears there. So got everything cleaned up here. I'm going to show you how I put all this stuff back together and get these. The wide bearing's going to go in this side here, so to hold that load on the primary gear shaft. So all right, so you guys stick around. I'll walk you through it here. All right, so the first thing that goes in here is we're going to put this little seal here and there. Also, you're going to see that there's a spring. I don't know if you can see that. The way that goes is you want to put the spring toward the oil. Okay, so and then we're going to put this in, then this little snap ring. So these are the first things that we'll install over here. So I'll sort of show you what's got to happen is, if you can look in there, you'll see like a little step there. Okay, that's where this O-ring will go, and the spring is going to go toward that side. Okay, so it's going to go in there with the flat face out here like this. So I'm going to install that there, sort of like that. I get some. Okay, and then what's going to happen is the bearing's going to go in there, and then there's going to be this clip, okay, that I have in my hand here, will go in there. All right, so I got the bearing sealant all in there. Let me shine a flashlight. I don't know if you guys can see. Oh boy. Okay. You're probably not going to be able to see in there. Flashlight probably makes it worse. But anyway, that seal rides right in there, and then that wide bearing is I'm gonna bring it over here, and it's going to go from here to there. Now up in this area right here, I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but there's a little notch in there. I always try to make sure that bearing is pressed in and just a little beyond that, okay? Because that I think is some kind of oil hole there for this gear on the back side. So I always try to make sure that this isn't blocked. So make sure that when you put this bearing in there, that you push it in there beyond this little lip right here. So just so, because oil's slinging around in here, and you want it to get in here and come down in oil. So and then I'll go to the other side here, and you'll see what I've done here. So I've got the clip in there, got the new bearing installed, and then got the circlip. So I'm ready to put that wide bearing in now. wide bearing in there. So look at that. So look how much better that is. If you can see that, you can see how wide it is. So it's going to carry that load a lot better. Also, remember I told you just beyond that a little bit, so I can still get oil in there. You'll also see the seal that's inside there for the primary shaft there. So all right, so other than that, the transmission's ready to let's put this thing back together. I was also going to show you too, so I'm not real sophisticated around here. So a 23 millimeter socket fits right up over that, and it fits it really nice, so you can knock that bearing in. I don't have none of those fancy drivers and all that kind of garbage, so a 23 millimeter socket works fine. Move this up here a little bit because I don't want this gear is all cleaned up here, and I didn't want it to slide through that brand new seal and snag that seal. So I would just put a little bit of gear lube on these things just to make everything mesh together a little better. Oh man, that feels a lot better. Lot better. Also, this little washer right here is what they call a spring washer. If you can look at it, it's not extremely flat. It's got like a cone shape to it. What it does is it goes on here, cone shape out, just to try to keep the gear slap from happening there. So make sure that you put that on there correctly. It goes on there and it just basically keeps that in there from when I put the cover on here. So this is the cover. That little gear there rides into there, and what it does, it just keeps the gear slap down. So make sure that you put that on there correctly. So I'm gonna reach over here and try to grab my gasket, and then we can put this thing back together. But essentially that's pretty much it there. And then this is what they call the pencil gear. Okay, if you ever hear of anybody wanting to replace that, that's a pencil gear there. So essentially this goes into here like that. And then there's a dial there, and there's a dial pin there. So, but other than that, let me go get the bolts. The bolts that come out of the gear cover here. So you can see the 2 long bolts there, and then the 3 short bolts. So the 2 long bolts always goes in here where the collars are at. Okay, so the 2 long bolts go in there, 3 short bolts in there. So just wanted to make you guys aware of that. I've seen some people do it wrong, and then the gasket leaks. So just make sure that that's done correctly. So 3 short bolts here, long bolt and long bolt, where your collars are at. Keep in mind, when using that gun, all I use that thing for is just to run them all in there, so it wouldn't take me as long. But then I go back with this ratchet here and tighten these things. I'm not sure the torque spec on these things. My guess would probably be 10 foot-pounds, maybe 8. I usually just hold it one-handed, like this here, and it's fine. So just don't over tighten them. Slide the brand new fixed tooth sprocket on there. It's like that, and then this is your bolt here. So what I'm going to do is probably drop a little bit of Loctite on that, and then torque that bolt there. So I normally torque that to about 75-80 foot-pounds. I don't need it torqued to the 105 now. This is that little concave washer here that we pulled off here for the that holds all this here together, for the slipper sprocket. So we don't really need to torque it to 105. So usually what I'm going to do is I'll put a little bit of drop of Loctite on there, and then probably I don't know, 75 foot-pounds, something like that. So but anyway, it's certainly no oil in there yet, but you can certainly see that it's a lot better. Okay, so I got everything all buttoned down, got that torqued down, got the chain back on it. Everything's good here. Now it's time to put oil in here. So this is where you put the oil in at. There's a little cap here. Make sure that, you know, I see a lot of these guys without these tubes on here. Please make sure that's on there, because that is a breather tube there. And most of the time these things fall out and they'll get dirt inside there and it'll ruin your transmission. So if you don't have this on there, please make sure. But anyway, I usually just stick a little funnel on here, and what it does, it takes 3.6 ounces, okay, for that transmission. So this is a little cap here that went on there. So that is not a dipstick. So do not fill it up to that point there, okay? That's a no-go. So 3.6 ounces. So I'll be putting XPS in there, 7590 gear lube. This is what we run in our Renegades. And this is what I have in here in the shop. So it's a full synthetic. So we should be good to go here, okay? So we're gonna walk around here, and oh, I was gonna show you. So there's about 27 ounces in here. So I marked a mark right there. I'm not sure if you guys see that, but I'm gonna pour, or at least dump, that much in there, and that should give me about the 3.6 ounces that I need there. So we're gonna put some oil in this thing and we'll start rocking out with it. All right, oil's in there. Look at this thing. Look how free that spins now. Very, 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 very excited about that. Okay, so you can see how much nicer and how much smoother it is, and how straight the chain is, and all that kind of stuff. So all right, so pretty much getting ready we're finished up with this thing. So I got to put the CVT cover back on there, the exhaust, and there were plastics, and this little Bentley, he'll be ready to rip out. So again, let me get all this put back together and I'll come back. All right, so I got the little ripper all down. I got the plastics put on there, the exhaust, seat, chain tightened up, and I also started it and ran it here in the shop here. So got the customer's old parts in there. So yep, this is a wrap on the DRR transmission build there. So I appreciate you guys watching, and I always enjoy working on those things. And these little kids are crazy important, okay? So they're no different than a pro racer, that they take it just as serious as we do. And so it's important that we keep these little guys running. And if you don't believe me, just go to the finish line one day when these guys come off and they're disappointed, some of them, and some of them are happy and excited they win. They're no different than we are. So but anyway, all right, that's gonna be a wrap on this video here. Got some Can-Am Renegade stuff to get started on, so gonna wrap this video up and we're gonna get started on another one. So excited for you guys to view my channel, and I appreciate it. Okay, so until next time, like, comment, and share. And if there's something you want to see, let me know. But we'll catch you guys up next time. Thank you.